My name is Zhiwei Hu, and from the past 20 years, I've been to 4 different countries: Ireland, to China, USA, and now I'm currently a student in the UK. Now, before I start, I want all of you to ask yourself this question. Have you ever blamed your parents for not being there when you truly needed them? Have you ever felt a sense of loneliness and a sense of distance between you, your parents, or even your friends back home? Now, well, I certainly did. Now, during the past 20 years of my life, me and my parents were never actually lived in a city, same city. And for me, I was in different countries. Now, due to this reason, I was always trying to face different sorts of obstacles, especially for me fitting into all different kinds of schools, high school, or different environments, and etc. For example, in the USA, sometimes students won't even communicate with me because of my looks, even though I have a kind of native speaker accent, but they didn't seem to care. And at this point, I really wanted to talk to my parents about this, just to share and to ease off my pain. And sometimes students or teachers would actually put me on the spot, which I really hate because that is really awkward, but they seemed to enjoy it. And at that time, I still really wanted to talk to my parents because I missed their comfort for giving me. I missed their presence. I really wanted a hug. Then, after a year passed by, it was on my high school graduation in the US. All my friends had their families coming around, gave them gifts, gave them a cigar, which is a weird tradition, and they also gave them a hug, which I really wanted. But I was all on my own. I was okay with that. It was fine. Because I had my friends with me. They actually invited me to an after party that really cheered me up. And I wanted to call my parents immediately. I wanted to call them, and then I did. But the first thing I saw was my mom with her eyes shredded with tears, and the background sound of my dad's deep sighs. In that silent moment, I was thinking, was this the right thing to do? Wasn't I supposed to actually call them or not? All I wanted to do was to share my enjoyment, but it didn't seem that way. I understand my parents as much as they do to me. I understand what they were thinking. They were thinking that, oh, everyone else had their parents beside them, but there was no one here for you. We weren't there for you. But at that single point, I knew that everyone was very happy, and I certainly wanted them to come here. I know how much we've been through between our relationship, and I wanted them the presents as everyone else did. They provided everything that they could. They go on late shifts every day, they work. The whole week, they don't have any days of taking a break or whatsoever. I never wanted to disappoint them. I was always worried about this. I hid my obstacles and I wanted them to actually feel joyful that it's okay, I'm okay by myself. But instead, I never thought that I would actually make them feel this painful at my graduation day. Since then, I formed a pattern of no longer telling them what obstacles I'm going to be encountered or already encountered with. At that time, I was getting really hard and swallowing all these emotions all to myself. And I never thought about telling anyone because I didn't think any of my close friends or my parents would understand what I'm going through. I worry too much about how my parents feel and also have all sorts of emotions. And I'm sure everyone here experienced the same thing. There's always something that you are not able to tell your parents or your friends, that you hide to yourself. And that brought me into a very dark place. And the longer this stuck into me, the longer that I felt the pain stuck. Then until that time, because the left of impression of my parents, I left a good and perfect impression to my parents. And at that time, they thought everything was fine. I thought everything was fine. But it actually ate me. The consequences was catastrophic. It made me be afraid of attending to events, social events, just eating pizza. I was afraid. I was afraid of interacting with anyone, with international students, local students, even teachers sometimes. I realized I wanted to tell my parents, but I was so worried. I couldn't tell them. But every time when an obstacle comes in, when I need to encounter it, when I need to solve it by myself, I still do it. It's not because I want to, because I have to. Also, in the end, I just found out how much I just needed my parents, how much I needed this hug, how much I needed them right beside me. That's where I started to think, did I blame them for this? Did I actually just need this feeling? Now, until last summer, due to the pandemic, I was isolated and I couldn't really get back to my parents until a whole 3 years. 3 years. Can you imagine how long I have been bearing and carrying these stuff? Well, during these 3 years, it was terrible because I had to hold everything to myself. And you might think that it will be a very happy or delightful moment with a reunion after 3 years. You might think you want to have a great meal, for example, or you go and travel to a city with your family. Such a happy time. But instead, it was the exact opposite. We sat down and had the longest conversation we ever had. And apparently it ended up with tears. Well, I wasn't expecting that. I was about to go to the movies, but apparently we were all blaming ourselves. Blaming ourselves about what if, making hypotheses about what if we did something differently. Would the consequence make it better? Would our families still be united in one country? Would we have a complete family these whole 20 years in my life? Now after that day, I was really curious about why this happened to our family. Because our family used to be really happy. There's no conflict at all. But after that, I saw an article, a very interesting article on my phone. It was written by Kirk and Ryan, and it was talking about cultural perspectives in family roles and responsibilities. Now, they indicated that cultural norms and societal expectations could actually help you set boundaries. Set boundaries in between could actually, if not a change, could actually engage on the self-guilt or shame, or maybe stressful as well. The acknowledgement of this information helped me tremendously, because then I found out that what I had with my parents was boundary violation. Boundary violation is now when both sides have too much stress on each other, and they also set up very high expectations for each other. And when it doesn't meet, it causes this effect. The influence of cultural perspectives and family roles actually made it more clear for me, because we can actually, despite this, cultural norms and expectations could really influence how boundaries are perceived and negotiated. And last, I found that it wasn't that hard to open up to my family, or open up to talk in general. Because letting them know something about me, letting them know what's happening around me, is better than not telling them anything at all. Because when I tell them something about, of course they're going to worry, but it's better off telling them something about. I started to reflect and think, maybe occasionally letting my parents down could be a good thing. Maybe I don't have to hide every single detailed thing just in myself. Maybe I could just share some bits and parts once at a time. And then when I did, I found out it actually helped my relationship between my parents. Through all these years, it actually strengthened the bond between us. Having to giving, and it doesn't mean like if we actually have a setback or have a loss, it doesn't mean we can't bounce back up. Maybe it's just a chance for our parents to have a deeper knowing us, have a deeper perspective on getting to know us better. That's my story, and all I want for you guys to take from this talk is basically having to develop a key solving problem for setting up boundaries in any relationship. The first part is being open to talk to your friends. Do not be afraid like I did. You can talk, maybe just a little small talk, basic chat, would actually tell a lot. Second part is compassionate communication. Compassionate communication can actually heal yourself, not only heal yourself, but also make serious bond between your friends, family, or even coworkers. This is where you open your heart and you talk something, maybe just one simple detail in your life that you wanted to share that could ease off some of your pain that you are going through right now. The disappointment that we cause will never last forever. The emotions come and go. Our boundaries doesn't have to be set so far. And no matter what difficulties you're going through, hang in there, stay strong, because you're not alone. We're all the same. And last, never be afraid to speak up. Thank you all for listening.